You know, we have an expression called an Explorers Club moment. And I often say that's like an absurd conversation that we have that's quite normal to us, that if you're someone on the outside, you hear and you go, are these guys serious? So as an example, we're watching Justin's presentation and Richard Garriott goes, that's my mission patch on the wall. And you know, that's an Explorers Club moment. Last year, 1 year and 2 days ago, we were getting ready to go to dinner at a golf club that we're actually going to tonight, some of the speakers. And Hamish Harding sat down next to us. He's a member you may have heard in the Titan tragedy. And we had climbed Kilimanjaro just a few months before. And he said, I've got to get you on my calendar. I want to go to Everest Base Camp. Will you go with me? And I said, well, what else are you up to? He goes, well, tomorrow I'm going to the Titanic. And you know, that's just, and I said, oh, great. Tell me about it when you get back. Well, obviously we know the end of that movie, but that's just the world we live in. And, you know, often you do come back and you tell something about our stories, but, you know, all too often, and with, unfortunately, regular frequency, the ending of that story is not so kind. But what a lot of people don't realize, if you think you know the whole story, that there's a big backstory during that accident. And I'd like to ask President Richard Garriott to come up here and sort of relate the many things that were going on during the rescue. So Richard Garriott, please come up.
Well, as many of you know, a year ago yesterday at last year's GLEX, we said goodbye to our dear friend Hamish Harding. Hamish left GLEX on the evening before most of the rest of us departed, in order to fly to St. John's, Newfoundland, to meet up with the rest of his crew to board the submersible Titan. On board with him was another legendary explorer, club member P.H. Nargeolet, one of the world's leading experts on the Titanic. Also, Shahzada and Solomon Dawood, who were also with them, and while they were not part of our EC community yet, they would surely have found their way into our doorstep sometime in their future. Along with them was Stockton Rush, who was not a member, but whom most of us in the exploration community were very familiar. The next day, as most of us were arriving home, we received word directly from the field about the disappearance of the Titan. Immediately, our extensive network of explorers went into action to see what resources were already being brought to bear and what additional resources we could help bring to bear to create the maximum probability of a positive outcome. It's worth noting that on that first day, we were read into a classified report of an implosion event that was triangulated to the time and location of the Titan's loss of signal. And it was therefore known to us that the crew was likely lost. That being said, the fact that the Coast Guard continued their search and did not mention the implosion publicly seemed to show that it was not entirely conclusive. And even as the Coast Guard has repeated recently, until you have conclusive evidence, you must keep searching. There are numerous historical examples of seeming miracles emerging out of impossible odds. We therefore also operated on the assumption that the implosion event that was recorded could have been something other than the main hull, and therefore the crew might be stranded, heavy, on the seafloor, unable to rise on their own. And if that was the case, we knew that they would only have a few days of supplies, such as oxygen, CO2 scrubbing, food, and water, before their health would be in jeopardy. This initiated about a 96-hour rescue effort, of which many people in this room played a part or were witness to. A search and rescue operation of this kind is historically unprecedented. Prior to the Titan, there have been no crewed deep submersible accidents resulting in fatalities. The Coast Guard, who became in charge of the search and rescue activities, has never tried to effect a deep water rescue. This was truly, entirely uncharted territory. The Explorers Club has the world's greatest experts on deep ocean capabilities and exploration. far better than any government entity. We knew that we had a valuable role to play, and I believe we played it very well. The Coast Guard quickly scrambled to get the Navy's FADOS system on site and the Odysseus 6K ROV to get eyes on the deep. Our members quickly recognized that while the Odysseus could get eyes on the bottom, that this skill crane style system called FADOS that the Navy was bringing out would likely crush the Titan's hull should it be intact on the seafloor. We therefore urged that a system like the Magellan system, a working class 6K ROV, which had a grappling capability that could grapple onto a lift point on the Titan, should also be mustered. Many of you who became core of what is now the Explorers Club Search and Rescue Task Force reached far and wide, leaving no stone unturned to find support from governments, corporations, and individuals to scramble the logistics needed to pull that off. The work was slow, often rife with forward and backward steps, but we kept working the problem. And as survival time and even the most optimistic scenarios slowly ran out. In the end, the Odysseus found the Titan debris near the bow of the Titanic, and thus the search and rescue efforts turned into a recovery operation. But in those few short days, the Explorers Club network had expanded our reach globally and deeply into military leadership across the United States, the UK and Canada, the White House, the US Joint Chiefs of Staff, all the Coast Guard admirals, and much more. The Explorers Club expertise was ultimately recognized as correct about what was needed, and they also knew that we would not rest until what we thought was correct was brought to bear on the situation. And while we were not able to change the outcome, I truly believe that we could not have done more to give our friends the best odds of a positive outcome for our fellow explorers, friends and explorers. I'm proud to be a part of that effort, and I'm thankful to all of you who helped. It's comforting to know that when any of the rest of us are in mortal peril, that we can and we will move heaven on earth to help each other. Hamish was a dear friend to the Explorers Club. He himself showed these same traits. For example, when on a moment's notice, he helped Dr. Lori Marker when she needed immediate, expensive, and complicated logistics to help move her cheetahs from Namibia to India. I know that Hamish would have done the same for us, as we did for him and his crewmates. Would the people involved in the Titan rescue attempt please come and join me on stage for the ringing of 8 bells, which is classically the way you signify the end of a watch, and for people who have perished at the seas, this is a final goodbye. I thank you all very much for that moment of silence. We're now going to take a very short break. We do have a few more presentations before lunch, a couple more presentations before lunch. And based on time, by the way, I'm told you have like literally 5 to 10 minutes, but please let's take a short break now. Thank you so much.